Thanks, Susan. Morning, everybody. Thanks for coming together. Unexpectedly, this one wasn't in the diary, of course, but we did get the usual notice for the 7 days. We've got an item on the agenda that needs to be dealt with before the end of the calendar month, so that's why we're here on a Wednesday morning rather than the usual Monday afternoon. Just to begin with, Susan, is there anybody that's said that they can't make it? I know that we don't formally record apologies, but just think it's worth a mention.
Yeah, I can't see Councillor Price in the meeting, and he's not said he's not coming, so maybe something's cropped up. And we've got Councillor Wright here now as our new rep from Horwich and Blackrod because of the recent change in circumstances. So he'll be coming to future meetings now. So,
all right, thanks, Susan. Welcome, Councillor Wright. So, moving back to the agenda, the first on the agenda is the monitoring of executive cabinet member decisions. It's just for noting, there isn't a comment next to technology-enabled care services. I think is the column that's got something where it doesn't say either ongoing or completed or whatever. So it'd be helpful if we could get an answer as to what that is, where that's up to for the next time we look at it, unless there's somebody on the call that knows where it's up to now.
It's in process of being mobilised, so we can add that to the next monitoring report.
Okay. Thank you very much, Rachel. So if there are no comments or questions on the monitoring report from other members of the call, and I don't see any hands, then we can move on to the main item, which is the Home and Community-Based Support Framework and DPS contract. The report's been circulated, but Christian, is this for you to speak to?
That's correct, Councillor Fielding.
Thank you.
Good morning, members. Thank you very much for meeting with us here this morning. This report, as it outlines, is to waiver standing orders and directly award a contract for 2 months for our home care contracts. I'm sure everyone here understands how critical home care contracts are to the services that we provide here in Bolton, helping people to stay well and supported at home. We are in the middle of a tender process for new contracts, and these have been, unfortunately, they have been delayed. The reason for this is down to the sheer volume of tender submissions we've received from providers. And of course, although that can be a good thing in terms of competition, in terms of the actual work it's created, has been unexpected. The reason why we think we've received so many applications this time is around artificial intelligence and AI. And although this is a good thing, and of course we want to embrace the technology, it makes it much easier for providers to submit a tender in respect of the home care contracts. So whereas before it's a huge amount of resource on providers to do that, it's much easier. So on the basis of that, we have received perhaps more submissions than we'd expect. We had an early challenge by one provider, which provided some further delay. So the reason for asking for this direct award for 2 months is to enable the tender evaluation process to continue and give us the space to do the commissioning work properly, but also to avoid any break in services for vulnerable people in Bolton.
Thanks, Christian. I've not seen any members indicating while you were speaking, but there's a couple of points of questions from me. So obviously it is welcome that there's a diverse market and plenty of people can put bids in. But given the volume of work that this is generating for the team, when we go to future rounds, there's going to have to be some way of addressing this, isn't there? So it's either we need more capacity or we need to allow more time, or we need to have a way of weeding out people early on that are just banging in a application quite frivolously, for want of a better way of describing it. Have we got any proposals or plans to come to such an arrangement so that we can avoid this situation in the future?
So I think, that's a good point, and probably I'm sure everybody here in the room and also my team as well would absolutely second what you said. I think it's important, as you said, to factor in more time. I think that on the basis of this experience that we've had, we would of course speak to our colleagues in legal and procurement around how we could mitigate this kind of influx of submissions going forward. I think once we've got past this tender process, it will be important for us to do some lessons learned around this, so that we can mitigate such a thing in future, because it is untenable in truth in terms of officer time.
Okay, thank you. I don't see anybody else indicated. So with that, the recommendation set out at the front of the report to delegate authority to allow the direct award of contracts for this period of 2 months to allow more time and all the necessary legal bits and pieces that the legal team will have to do. I'm happy to agree to those. Susan, do you need me to say anything in
No, that's
particular?
fine.
That's
No,
fine.
as long as you've approved those recommendations in the report, then that's absolutely fine. Thank you.
Okay. Well, that concludes the business of this meeting. So everybody that Susan doesn't want to speak to, just everybody apart from me, can go. And I'll see some of you at council this evening and the rest of you at some point over the next few days.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Councillor Building, thank you,
Thanks.
members.